We have liftoff. Hey, so good morning.
And we have Cindy too.
Okay, so uh, yay. Welcome to the third season of ACTviaZoom. And there are lots of people I see that I know your faces and I know your names, and there's new people as well. So that's just great. First of all, mute yourself. And then if you'd like to rename yourself with either your league or city, you can hover over, put your cursor or your finger, whatever works, over the right-hand corner of your picture. And then you can rename yourself with either your league or your city, your county. We are statewide, and it's really nice to see all the areas that we represent this morning. Okay, there have been some changes to ACTviaZoom. For one thing, there's now a team that's working together to bring you this program. I'm doing the scheduling. Cindy Madigan, this is funny. She had problems getting in this morning, but she's the one who handles the behind the scenes tech stuff, and she really is good at it. Her computer just isn't as friendly. Marilyn Byfield handles our publicity, and ta-da, drum roll here. Wendy Pierce is our new moderator. I don't have a microphone, but before I turn the spotlight, or somebody turns the spotlight over to Wendy, let me tell you that Wendy is a member of Snohomish County League, as am I, and is Marilyn. Cindy comes from the Whatcom League, and Wendy is an advocate with the Elections and Money and Politics team that's led by Cindy Madigan. And Marilyn and I are also advocates. So you can see there's a lot of teamwork going on here, not only just for ACTviaZoom, but also for our work for the lobby team. If Wendy were to tell you about herself, she'd say that she has been in adult learning in the healthcare field. That kind of is oversimplification. I'd say if you've ever worked for a large company and you switch computer software programs, who are you going to call? You're going to call Wendy, because in the healthcare field, that's what she did. She did training and development of healthcare information systems technology. She trained people to do the jobs that they needed to do for their organization. And she's done training over many years for major healthcare companies, and she's also worked for the Department of Defense. And someone didn't get the message to mute themselves. Hello, mute yourself.
Yeah, Maureen.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on a second. Maureen, I see you're host. Can you make me co-host so I can help with that technical support?
I'm not the host anymore.
Oh, okay. I wonder who is. I'm still showing you as host.
Carol's the host now.
Well, I have recording. You may still be the host. Go back to that.
No, it's true. It's Carol. I'm sorry. Yeah, Carol, can you make me host, please? I'm sorry for the glitch.
How do I do that, Cindy? You're the one.
You go to participants.
Okay.
Go to participants, and then next to my name, say make host.
Sorry.
That's all right. Sorry, I apologize for this glitch.
Okay, we just kind of change the glitch every beginning of the season.
Okay, thank you so much. Now I've got it. Okay.
Thank you. The first glitch, the first year was my Marty Gibbons had a power outage and he was the program. He couldn't make it, the very first one. Anyway, let's keep going. So Wendy's done training for major healthcare companies, also for the Department of Defense. And that was definitely training people worldwide to use healthcare system in their healthcare system. She's got a lot of skills that I can't even begin to tell you about. She's also one of the smartest and nicest, most caring people I've ever known. I've known her for a long time, so I've had time to check her out. She has a really wicked sense of humor. I don't know that we're going to get to see that here, but I do know that you are really going to enjoy getting to know Wendy as we proceed through this. Not maybe today. We're off to kind of a rocky start, but over the course of the legislative session. Okay, so Wendy, I'm officially turning the spotlight over to you.
Well, thanks, Carol. That was a big mouthful, and that was more than I even knew about myself. Hi, everybody. First thing I want to do is just very quickly say what our agenda is going to be for anybody who might not be sure. Our first 45 minutes or so we're going to have a segment called Legislative Priorities Update, where several members of the League of Women Voters of Washington's advocacy team are going to discuss 2 or 3 of the top priority bills that they're tracking. And then in the last 15 minutes, we're going to have Cindy Madigan show us a demonstration on how to use the Legislative Action newsletter, which is a really great tool for each of us to know how to use. It's easy, and it's how to get our voices heard. So with that, we have a lot of information to jam into the next little while. So I'm going to turn over the first 15 minutes to Ann Murphy, who is the issue chair for solid waste management and is also going to be presenting some material on behalf of Marty Gibbons, who is the issue chair for climate and energy. So Ann, if you're ready. Oops, I think you're muted.
Oh, I know. It always tells you right away. And so my apologies on that. Thank you so much, Wendy and Carol, for getting this going, as well as the rest of your team. And yes, we will representing the environment or green team here. And you'll notice I've changed the name a little bit, not just solid waste management, but looking at waste diversion to help us think about making less waste too, not just managing it, but making less waste, as a number of the bills do represent. And Marty, of course, is in a state board meeting this morning. So briefly, we'll hit the items on his agenda. But overall, our top 3 items are in line with the Environmental Priorities Coalition, of which the League is a member. We find that working in coalition is ever so beneficial to us and our members to keep up with some people that maybe know more than some of what we know, and we can help share that information with you. And of course, all of those things will align with positions that we do have. So the 3 top priorities that come from in coalition with the environmental priorities are dealing with the Climate Commitment Act. As you're probably aware, with the recent submittal of those initiatives, that it is under attack for the funding mechanism for many of the things that we worked hard last year to get passed and that we care about related to our environment. The second priority is the one that's on top of my list. You'll remember the WRAP Act from last year. That was the Recycling and Waste Reduction and the Extended Producer Responsibility Act. That one is back, but it's different. And so it has a new bill number this year. And all of this is in information that Cindy is going to magically put in the chat at some point. And then we do have sheets that will be sent out to all of you afterwards on these bills that we're highlighting today. But the WRAP Act, it cleaned up some of the things in the extended producer responsibility part, and the item that was what we've lovingly called bottle bill, or the direct deposit or direct return system, that has been moved into a separate bill. So now we have 2 bills that relate to our waste reduction. Then the third bill that is the priority related to the Environment Priorities Coalition is the zero emission school buses. And so those 3 items are very top of our list. And then between Marty and me, we already have 10 bills that are getting hearings this week. And so this is why we will be sending this information to you on these various bills. And obviously, we don't have time to cover 10 bills this morning, or that would be your entire program. But know that we as a team, and that's the reason and the importance of the teams that we have been looking at these bills and So now I can see Cindy's starting to post things and we can touch on those really quickly. So you can see in the chat, she's put in the link for the House Bill 2041, which is now what we're calling the REWRAP Act, because it is different than last year. But we encourage you to go in and sign in pro on this particular bill. And that hearing is Tuesday. So the hearing is at 4. You need to make your wishes known by 3 o'clock, an hour before the hearing starts. And then also on the agenda for that same day same meeting is the deposit return system that I referenced, and that's Bill 2144 that will be there. Cindy has also posted information here that will be in what comes out. The RAP Act is having a rally in Olympia on Martin Luther King Day, January 15th. And that date was selected primarily because students are out of school, and we have a number of very significant student groups that are very interested in this particular bill and have already had meetings with legislators and are just being a wonderful addition to this whole thing. All right, so I'm trying to keep up with Cindy and what she's posting. This 1933, which is the Rights Repair Act, is back from last year, and it has been expanded to include more than just electronics, and so is a really good way to look at reducing waste. Let's see where. And then another new bill that may seem a little frivolous to some, but a very interesting one when you look into it. It's both House Bill 268 and Senate Bill 5965. And that is a bill concerning the environmental impacts of fashion. And if any of you are familiar with the book Stuff, it really kind of gets at all of the things that go into the fashion industry and the environmental impacts of that, and certainly ways to support that and reduce that. I want to answer this question that came up. Oh, thank you, Susan. There are 2 different bills with numbers, you know, how they get turned around. So the RAP Act is 2049. And the bottle bill is 2144. So apologies for tongue twisting that one for you.
And
Yes.
could I interrupt just briefly?
Yes, you may.
Marty sent out a nice email to the climate radar people. It has all of these bills and your action alerts. We have permission to send that on.
Right. I was going to address that, Carol.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have to put everything in here. We'll be sending everybody an email soon. Okay, I'll go ahead.
But if some of you like to save the chat and do it that way, then you've got it covered. And then Marty has up the zero emission school buses that will be having a hearing later this week, as well as the geothermal energy resources, reducing emissions from small off-road engines. There are just a plethora of environmental bills. And as Carol noted, they are in this email from the Climate Radar. If you're not familiar with the Climate Radar, Cindy, I did send some links on that. Maybe you could post that, and that will be part of the information that you will get, because as you can see, it's a whirlwind as we deal with our climate change. I would gladly I'm not sure where I am on time, but probably pretty much to the end of it.
Well, you're still good, Anne. You've got a good 5, 6 in there.
Okay, well, I think the more appropriate thing at this point might be some questions, if anyone has them. And Cindy's just posted the Climate Radar, and that's the website where you can get into that information. And then also, if you're not subscribing to that, you can subscribe to it by writing to Marty. And so if I'm not seeing any hands, so if you have questions, you need to raise your hand or put them in the chat. And I noticed too that another member of our environment team is on the call, Kate Lunsford, and I don't know if she has anything that she'll want to bring up at some point, but we are moving forward here. Carol.
Yes, I'm curious about the opposition that you mentioned. I think I've heard a little bit about initiatives. Could you address that just briefly against the Climate Commitment Act?
Well, some of you may be aware that there were a package of 6 different initiatives submitted by, I can't remember the name of the group, maybe someone else does, but the first one they did get submitted was to basically wind up finding ways to defund the Climate Commitment Act that was then funding the various things that we've been working on. And I don't have the details of everything that gets defunded. And thank you, Chris, for putting it in. The group is called Let's Go Washington, and they have other initiatives that are affecting other things other than just this environmental piece. But I think, I mean, they all submitted what they determined was enough signatures. Of course, all those signatures need to be verified before we'll know exactly what we're facing there. But so we'll need to be watching for what's happening there. Any other questions? Cindy's put in where you can go learn more about Let's Go Washington. It seems to be the biggest opposition to things that we have been supporting. So. Okay, I think without any other questions, I know that was just, like the rock skipping across the water in terms of looking at it, but you can see that we're just hit with a fire hose this first week of session, and that no matter where you get your action alerts, some of you may be on other lists, and but you'll get this list from our ACT team that will share specifics on the bills, and of course the notices are small because but you can get more information, always by clicking that bill number. When you see that bill number in blue, you can click on that and go. It takes you directly to the bill information on the ledge.wa.gov site. So as a way to learn more about the bill, and actually you can go, they've added a new feature on that page now, and maybe you're covering that at the end in terms of a really quick way to be able to comment on a bill. Amy.
Hi, about the Climate Commitment Act, we'd like to do a program on this initiative, and in Mason County. When would be the best time for us to alert the people, educate the people on what's happening with the Climate Commitment Act?
Well, that's something that Marty's covering. It's not in my, direct wheelhouse. So I would advise you to talk to Marty, but I would say probably the sooner the better.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe Marty would be able to actually do something.
Right. He probably could.
Okay.
So talk to Marty on that one.
Okay. I know he's very busy. Thank you.
Right. I know. Thanks. Thanks, Amy. Okay, I will yield back whatever time was left here, and I appreciate your time this morning. And I will now venture out into my snowstorm world in Spokane. We're getting supposed to get a snowstorm today. So
Good luck, Ann.
All right. Thanks.
Good luck with that. Thank you. That was terrific. And Cindy Madigan, I know, is supposed to be next to talk to us. And Cindy's been playing Have Fun with Computers this morning. So Cindy, are you doing okay with being online and ready to roll?
Let's see. Give me a minute. Yes. So, I was going to turn it over to Carol first. If Carol, could you talk about the 2 election bills that we have going? And then I'll follow up with the money and politics once I get my computer open on that.
Sure. Okay. Okay,
Thank you so much. Is that okay?
I'm glad you said the 2 power bills, because I was looking for the other one about the registration, challenges to registrations, that I can't remember its number. When I can't remember the number for the bill, then I'm really out of water. Anyway,
Sorry.
we'll have 2 actions in the email that we'll send out later today. Hopefully we've got the email list, and I think Amy at the office is going to help us with that. But this is a really kind of fun one. It's a joint resolution, and it's called 4208, and it has to do with the gender language in our state constitution. Guess what? All the language all the pronouns in our constitution are he and him and his, which doesn't kind of like reflect the way things have changed over the years. And there are now a whole lot more women in the legislature anyway, the whole thing. We're going to be able to change it and use either very neutral pronouns or put in job titles instead if this joint resolution passes. And to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, I think everybody could kind of agree we need to change the language and bring our Constitution into the 21st century. So that's one that we're going to ask you to sign in pro for. Another one has to do with ballot curing. And my experience has been in Skagit County, somehow I managed to cure ballots and help cure ballots in an election by getting a list of names, going to homes and getting people to sign a form that, cured their ballot. Either sometimes they didn't sign the ballot on the envelope outside, or I remember one lady saying when we knocked on the door, I told him he shouldn't sign for me, because her husband had signed her ballot. And she knew that wasn't going to work, because it doesn't work. People do check. But then when I came down to Snohomish County, we very civilized here. We went to a library and we got a list of addresses and a short script, and we wrote postcards to people. And I see people on this today. I see Gilda and Karen, and I know Kate was there too, and I can't see who else was there. But we just wrote postcards, so quite different. The bill is number 5890, and it will standardize and provide training across the state so that signature identification is all done the same when they're looking at the ballots originally, the envelopes, and that when a ballot needs to be cured, it's going to be the same. It turns out the people who are most affected by this ballot curing process and having their vote not count because their ballot's been rejected due to signature issues are people of color, young people, and people who are new voters in particular. I asked my grandkids, do you have a signature? Well, my 16-year-old said, yes, I do. And she showed me. And it looks like something that Chinese characters kind of, but it's her signature, whatever it is. It wouldn't have passed muster in my handwriting class, way back when, but it was her signature. And I said, you need to keep that. The other 2 didn't seem to have one yet. I asked another grandson, and he said, yeah, he kind of has one. And he doesn't have a driver's license, but he does have an ID card. So I told him to check that and see what he put on that ID card, because that will be what they will match it to. So if you have young people in your life and they have some kind of a signature, whether it looks like Chinese writing or not, have them keep that. Thank goodness I didn't have to keep the signature I had about that same age, 16, 17, 18, because I was putting little hearts over the the eyes and, little curlicues at the end that turned into a heart and things like that. And, your signature obviously would change. So hopefully they are encouraged to keep the same signature. We'll have lots more to talk about next week. We're going to have Fairvote Washington come to talk about Washington Voices, which is the updated local elections options bill and ranked choice voting. And I hope you'll all come back to learn more about ranked choice voting and how this new bill, Washington Voices, can make voting a lot more fun for all of us. So I think, does that answer it, Cindy? Did I cover everything? I don't have the number for the last one, but it's about standardizing. If someone wants to challenge a registration, again, it needs to be the same throughout the state. And that's one that we may pop in there as well. Thank you, Wendy. I think that's it for my section.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Carol. And Cindy Black has offered, like I said, having a little computer problems. I'm going computer shopping this week. Cindy Black will cover our priority bill for money and politics, 1885. And we need to get you all to sign in on that if you haven't already. Thank you, Cindy.
Sure, no
Thanks, both
problem.
Cindy's.
I know how it is to have computer issues. So I'm putting in the chat right now a link to the bill, which is House Bill 1885. This would ban foreign influence corporations from donating to election. Seattle passed a similar bill back in January of 2020. So corporations that have a significant amount of foreign investors would be barred from donating to elections in Washington state, similar to Seattle. In Seattle, the reason why is Amazon had dumped back in 2019, had dumped over I think it was $1.5 million. And once this bill passed, Amazon could no longer donate directly from their treasury as a corporation. And so we're trying to expand this. Minnesota passed a similar bill this past year. It is being challenged by the Chamber of Commerce, but we feel it has a lot of strength to go against any constitutional challenges, because federal or foreign money in our elections is already barred on a federal level. So we encourage people. It has a hearing tomorrow at 1:30. We're encouraging people to sign in pro for this. I put the link to the bill as well as the link to sign in pro. And so we're just trying to get a lot of energy around this bill, because we think it can really have a significant effect on a lot of the money that's pouring into elections. I do want to make one point that Open Secrets recently put out a report, and it was comparing 5 different states, and Washington by far had the most foreign money, excuse me, pouring into our elections, over $80 million just within 2017 to 2022. We don't have updated numbers yet for that, but you can just tell there's a ton of foreign money coming in through corporations. So please go ahead and sign in pro for that bill. And then also too, I know the league hasn't had a chance to put out their first legislative newsletter. Ours went out today, and these are just democracy-related bills, and includes the bills that Carol mentioned, as well as the campaign finance bill, the ban foreign influence corporations in there. But if you want to check out our newsletter, there's direct links to sign in pro for those bills that we just mentioned. So I put that in the chat as well. If you have any questions about that bill, I'm happy to answer those.
Not seeing any questions.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cindy. I
Carol's
really
got a-
Thank you,
Hey,
Cindy.
Carol's got a question. Carol McMahon.
Of course. I was looking at the link just now to sign in, Cindy, that you had provided, and it says that it's setting up for a response, not just to be registered as my pro, but also to register to speak. Is that
Oh, did I?
separate?
Oh, I might have put the testifier link in there. I do apologize. Let me go ahead and find the correct link just to sign in pro, because there's multiple links there. So let me
Yeah,
go ahead and
yeah.
get the correct one just to sign the position. So I apologize if that is the incorrect one. here's the one that you should be able to just sign in pro.
Yeah, and if you can, Cindy, if you want to share your screen and show people what that looks like, and even
Sure.
if you grab the bill number, you can even see how they can sign in from the bill number page now.
Yes.
It's a new feature this year, which is very convenient.
Let me see if I can share my screen. Yes, I can. So here it is. So there's the link I just put in the chat. It's really simple to do. You just go ahead and select Pro. And this is for any of the bills that we talked about, not just this one. It all has the same setup. And then obviously it has all my information. I would sign in as an organization with Fixed Democracy First. But if I wanted to sign as an individual, I would just sign in. We don't want people to sign in for the league, because only people that are authorized with the lobby team will sign in for the league. Otherwise, you would just sign in. You would leave that blank, put in your address, your phone, check that I am not a robot, and then submit your registration. Very simple. It takes
Yeah.
a minute, a few minutes to do that.
Yeah, and Cindy, can you just show the bill page too for 1885, just putting the bill number in?
Sure, absolutely. I have all my links up, so the bill is right here.
I know, we've been watching it. What do we have now? How many signatures? I know it was over 360.
All right, so there's the bill page. You should be able to see that. And
Mhm.
this is a great place. You can look at the bill analysis, the original bill. You can find out it's again, it has a hearing tomorrow. This is again for any bill you can check out. It shows you where the hearings are happening. And then you go down, you can also watch the hearings. They have them on TVW, and they have the link here to the on tomorrow's public hearing, but then it's also scheduled for executive session on Friday, and you can watch all of those as well.
And
The
go to
best
the
way to watch them is afterwards, when you can sort through it, and I mean, under some circumstances, sometimes you want to
Yeah,
watch somebody testify.
Yeah, you can watch it live, or you can go back and watch the recording, but sometimes it does take a little time for them to process it after the live one. But
Mhm.
here you can sign right up
Yep.
here, the things you can, also, it's also good to use this particular link right here to comment on the bill. That goes directly to your legislators. And then here you can sign in. This brings you right to that page where if you want to testify in person, remotely, do your position, or you can submit written testimony as well. We're mostly encouraging people to sign in pro. And if we go to this, who has signed in for this page, we can go and see that here's all the people that signed in to talk about, to testimony live, which is myself, Cindy Madigan is over there. We also have Jasmine Smith, Sam Martin. They're all part of our coalition. You also have Tim Iman has signed in we see here. And the PDC is signed in other because they want to bring up a couple of things. But if you go down here, you can see all the people that have signed in pro. If you can't remember if you signed in, you can click the name button and then just look up your name by alphabetical order to see if you signed in or not, because it will show you multiple times if you do that. And then if we look at the position, we can see only 3 people have signed in several people have signed in other, but if we go to the con or the pro side, we can see that 466 people have signed in pro already for this bill. So we're in good shape for support for that bill. So that gives you some information about how to navigate that committee sign-in page that you can directly, and again, you can do this directly from any bill page. So this goes for any of the bills we're talking about.
Thank you, Cindy. That was very helpful. Carolyn, you have a
Thank you,
question.
Cindy.
Hi, Cindy. I just had a question. I had a random conversation with somebody about this, and they said that the threshold for the percentage of foreign ownership was something like 1%, and therefore it would impact all corporations, and they were opposed to this.
No, it's actually 1% single owner or a combined foreign ownership of 5%. So this is really because we have discovered, especially with these big multinational corporations, if you have a 1% ownership in a company like Amazon, that is super significant. You can get the CEO on the phone. You have influence to do that. And if you have a 5% combined, you can pool those resources and have a huge impact on where the corporation puts its money. And so those were why those thresholds were established. Also, too, foreign money is barred for on any level. So we picked these levels, and this was done through a lot of analysis because of the type of influence that foreign investors can have on a corporation. And that's why those numbers were chosen.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And another good point on that too is the bill specifically wrote in that these affected corporations can still set up an employee PAC. So they're still able to do that. And so because of the transparency, like for example, McDonald's will no longer be able to contribute, but there's something called Mac PAC. And those are employees of the organization or people who own franchises. But with the PDC website, you can go in and see exactly who's contributed. So it's very transparent, and you can see that these are people who live in the state that are contributing or live in the United States.
And I will mention that even Obama had mentioned after Citizens United decision that we would see a lot of foreign money coming in through corporations after that decision. And we have seen a tremendous amount of foreign money coming in through corporations. And so this is really about closing a loophole in our campaign finance rules. There is federal legislation. Unfortunately, we know nothing's moving forward federally, but states and localities are having more success on this. Like in Seattle, Seattle's law has never been challenged. It was implemented 4 years ago this month, and we have not seen any legal challenges to that.
Y'all, we have about 1 more minute and then we have to go to our next topic.
Hey, sounds good. Thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate you coming in and doing this. Okay.
Thank you, Cindy. And I think we have Heather Kelly who's going to present our last topic in this segment. Heather, do we have you on board?
I'm not sure she's here.
I'm not seeing Heather.
Oh, okay. If we don't have Heather, then we actually do have maybe another 5-6 minutes where we can do questions if people still have them, or
Would we want to talk about democracy vouchers or
Well, yeah, I
Or-
think not today. Yeah, we're talking mostly about the bills that we know have hearings coming up. And
That's true.
so that's where we're focusing on for now. But I can go ahead and start. Oh, thank you, Cindy. I can go ahead and start with the newsletter if that's good.
awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah,
That'd be great,
yeah.
Cindy. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna turn my video off. We are gonna hope that this works. And I am going to share my screen. And it's we're still getting our newsletter up. And I apologize for this format. Once it loads, you'll see it's just my email, but it says it's loading, so it should load pretty soon. We're going to have a new format for the newsletter this year, not dramatically new, but we're using some feedback we got. So I don't know if you can see, it's in my email box here. This is the newsletter. It's going to have a new logo, a little updated logo. And then at the top, as usual, it will always have the action alerts. And so these action alerts will let you go to, will prioritize between 3 and 6 action alerts at the top. These are ones that the lobby team has met on and said, you know we want to make sure that these rise to the top. And then I'll show you later this new page where it says see all action alerts. So they'll all be on one page too, if you just want to go in and take action. And so then this is This Week in Legislature. This will talk to us about just generally what's going on this week, because as Anne mentioned, everything is going to happen really fast this session. It's only a 60-day session. And then we're going to have a little educational component about breaking down the legislature. in this case, we had done one at the last meeting, the last newsletter last time about the governor veto process, but we'll have something new on the legislature each time. And then as normal, we have all the legislative issues. You can see we have a variety of issues, a number of issue chairs, democracy, environment, social and economic policy are the three main categories, and underneath that are the individual lines. And then this yellow triangle with the exclamation point means there's an action to take. And if you go down here to, and then there's calendar and events. So the next thing we have coming up is Democracy Lobby Week. So I hope everyone has signed up for that or is going to sign up for it and support our advocacy work. And so I'm going to stop my share and then reshare. And I see there's, let's see, I'm going to reshare so I can get to that action alert page we talked about. So this is a page that is out on the website under League of Women Voters Advocacy. And anytime you click on one of those yellow triangles, it'll take you here. So you'll see all the actions on one page. This is a mock-up. So these aren't real actions for this week, but you'll see that this will take you right to that sign-in pro page that Cindy Black showed you. And it also tells you when you need to sign in by, which is very important because you need to sign in 1 hour before the hearing for your comment to be counted. And then, so we'll have all the action alerts on this page. And so if you're a person, you don't have a lot of time, you want to go to action alerts and you just want to take action. If you want to go deeper, we'll still have the updates that the issue chairs will be doing. Now, these updates are optional this year because we found that most people who are using our newsletter were really mostly concerned about taking action. And so we wanted to identify where the time was taken in doing the newsletter, and one of them was producing the updates. So we're going to make those optional. So those will be something that if something significant happens with a bill, you want more clarification, you'll be able to get to that information. You can also always contact an issue chair. The email addresses for them are on the website and on the newsletter. And the other thing to say is the individual web pages for the issues. It's very complicated because we have web pages and we have issue papers and we have weekly updates. I could see Susan shaking her head. I know. We have so many different things that we're working with here, and they all take a certain amount of time. So as I said before, we're really focusing on action alerts this year because when we saw the statistics, 30 to 40% of the people went to the action alerts, and maybe a couple people opened up some of the other areas of the newsletter. Okay. Charlie has a good question here. Some of our members who can't attend this Monday chat want to know how to view it later. Will a video link be shared or posted somewhere? Yes.
I can answer that. So we did get this recorded. We will stop it at the end so that not a lot of editing has to be done. And we'll post this whole recording to the League of Women Voters YouTube channel. And I used to send out a link to that during the week. I'm wondering if there isn't a way we can put that on that original, the email that you got this morning with the Zoom link. but we'll get it to you one way or the other so that you have it. Or maybe you'll Google League of Women Voters of Washington YouTube channel and you come up with it. I don't know if I've been very helpful or not, but I know it does get recorded and we will get the information to you.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Carol.
Yeah, Monday morning is often a conflict for many people, but we wanted to do it as early as possible in the week because, like you said, a lot of committee hearings happen. And so every week, even though, I mean, we'll have a specific topic in mind, but each week the issue chairs will have time at the beginning if they need to come in and say, oh, you know, we couldn't make this to in the newsletter, and it'll help to make sure that we can get the action out to you.
Other questions?
You know, I think we had this timed so well that when we missing one of our people that was going to tell us about their bills, that's the
I know.
space that's left. But I'm just
I know.
wondering if I know that Kate got asked before. Kate, I'm wondering if you, Kate, she may not be here either now. Kate Lunsford, she may not be here now either.
Yeah, she's not here right now.
Oh, I was wondering if she wanted to fill us in on anything that in the forest area, which would be a kind of damp, wet information today, but anyway, it doesn't look like she's here either. So this is an unusual situation.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We're coming in with about 10, 11 minutes to spare, something like that.
Just about what Heather would have taken. Can I
Yeah.
tell you what Heather was going to tell you about? I don't know if she has actions needed this week, but it's House Bill 2030, sponsored by Tara Simmons. It's called Free the Vote Act. And I'm just reading from a cheat sheet here because I don't know as much about it. But the talking points are, and it's this really a cool piece of legislation. The right to vote affirms our humanity, our voice, our identity as Americans, but Washington's prison system strips more than 14,000 voters of their most fundamental right as citizens by redefining a single vague term in our state constitution. We can join the 3 other US states that allow everyone to make their voices heard, even while incarcerated. So this Free the Vote is meant to restore voting rights to people who are incarcerated. And the changing I think the wording had to do with.
Oh, I can address this because I'm working on this bill with
Oh, go ahead. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, yay.
Please.
Yeah, we're working on this bill with the Washington Voting Rights Restoration Coalition. I'll put a link to the bill in the chat. It's House Bill 2030. It is about giving rights to people to vote while they're currently incarcerated in prison of a felony. So what it does is currently this is a way to do it. We've been working with the Campaign Legal Center to change the term infamous crime that's listed in our RCW, our Revised Code of Washington, to say that if someone is convicted of an infamous crime, it only relates to people that qualify for the death penalty. And since Washington no longer has the death penalty, this would enable everyone, and this only relates to voting rights. This would enable anybody that's currently incarcerated in prison to get their voting rights back while they're still incarcerated. We had passed a bill a couple of years ago to allow people to get their voting rights back upon immediate release. And this would take it a step further to allow people to vote while they're still currently incarcerated. So it would be changing how do we define infamous crime to only for crimes that qualify for the death penalty. I do want to mention that Maine and Vermont allow people to vote in prison. So does Washington, D.C., as well as Puerto Rico. So that's what that bill would do.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Sorry.
It's interesting too that the sponsor of the bill, Tara Simmons, was once incarcerated herself. So
Right.
she really has she knows what she's talking about, sort of lived experience. I was wondering, and I have my hand up because Cindy Sarge, is there opposition, organized opposition to this?
No, not yet. It's a pretty new bill. Unfortunately, we're not expecting it to go very far this session. I think there's going to be a lot of education needed to educate legislators about this particular issue. We're probably going to get pushback for people that want to be tough on crime, those type of folks. But we're waiting to see if we're even going to be able to get a hearing. We're also trying to get a companion Senate bill, but we haven't been successful yet.
I see a hand up. Karen?
Hi, yeah, this is an addenda. It's a little different than the bill. I think this is fabulous they're putting it through, but I just wanted to share a story that in Snohomish County, we worked with our elections office during last year's elections. We actually spent a day going into Snohomish County Corrections one day to register folks to vote who are currently allowed to vote, but are not registered. And I just wanted to share that in one day, we registered 50 people to vote who had not been registered to vote. And these were folks that were in jail, had no idea that really they even could. They felt totally out of the system. Now, I don't know if they voted, but my point is I think there's a lot of work to do in this area for folks that are in the correction system feeling like they are not a part of our community any longer. So I just think this is important stuff. Thanks for doing it, Cindy.
And thank you, Karen, for bringing that up because jail voting is a big part of the mission from the Voting Justice Coalition. We've been working closely with League, Deb Carson's and others have been joining our meetings to try to get more information out to jails in the state because people are eligible to vote while they're in jail because they're either awaiting a trial or they're in for a lower crime, not felony conviction. And so they are eligible to vote if they're a legal resident or a legal citizen. So it's really important that we get information out there. So thank you, Karen, for all that work you're doing in Snohomish and other places. We're having good success in many counties. Many counties we're having tougher time.
And I can report when I went as part of Snohomish County register to vote must have been September. The tabling place that I was at the Goodwill in Linwood, we registered 2 people who were formerly incarcerated and did not know that they could register to vote. So it wasn't 50 people, but bit by bit, you're getting the word out.
And that's a good point. There's a lot of people that don't know because they might still be on community custody or they don't think they ever got their voting rights back. But if they're out of prison, they have their voting rights back. And so it's really good to let people know that.
Other questions, comments?
Okay, Wendy, I think, there's one more from Eleanor.
There you go.
And she's muted, so she'll have to unmute first. You're still muted on my screen, Eleanor. And then there's a question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Cindy, I'm wondering, because I believe I heard a live testimony through the Poor People's Campaign on this, the incarceration bill. Do you know if Poor People's Campaign or Faith Action Network have done any work around that bill and are promoting support for it?
Yes, they are. In fact, we're a member of Poor People's Campaign. We're one of their partner members. And yes, they do support this. And Faith Action Network has been a member of our Washington Voting Rights Restoration Coalition. So yes, both of those organizations and groups support moving forward with full voting rights restoration, as well as more outreach for jail voting.
How about the tribes? Do you know if individual tribes, or is there some effort there?
Still a lot of outreach happening right now, but there is general support, yes, because it would involve outreach to tribal jails. And we know that in our state, a lot of people in tribal communities are impacted by the criminal justice system. So we do have some general support. But
Yeah,
with all
good.
communities, there's, some people have different points of view on it, but in general, yes.
I've heard a lot about it, so I'm on board. Thank you for everything you've done.
Awesome. I think I saw another hand up there for a minute.
Yes,
Yeah,
Kathy
Kathy.
is, and she's on mute.
Oh, yes, I just can't see. But with the green background, I lost sight of the hand there for a minute. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, so I kind of have a little bit of a personal story that leads me to ask a question about voting. I ran for school board a few years back, and when I was doing that, I thought I would, you can go to these companies and get lists of different people that have things in common. And I was running on racial equity, and so I thought, I'm going to get names of everybody who's Vietnamese. Has a last name that's Vietnamese, that's registered to vote. And I got, I don't know, so many names. I thought, oh, wow, I've got all these Vietnamese friends. I can really talk that up in my election. I've got this made. And then I decided to do another search on how many of those people actually voted. And it went down to 10%. 10% of the people that were registered actually voted. So, I'm not that involved in League of Women Voters. Is there anything that you guys do about actually getting to changing that? Because just because you get them to vote, get them to register, clearly only 1 in 10 votes, at least the Vietnamese community.
I'd say we are working on some different ways. Other than just registering people to vote, people on our democracy team are working to improve elections so that people are going to be more excited about voting and feel more represented. And a lot of these things are, I'm just really sort of scratching the surface here, but Cindy would be
and
very
I kind of came out of the blue with this, but that's, it's just bothered me so much that, just to say that you have a bunch of people registered to vote, of course you have to do it, but that has really a 10% return on what you're doing. And so what could we do about improving that?
Yeah, so get out the vote efforts are really a lot of the nonprofit agencies are really working on that, especially if they are led by people of color. It's really been helpful. I know there's some bills out this year to a bill out to increase the requirement for language interpretation. Right now, federal law requires if you have 5% of that particular language in your area, it's going to reduce it to 2.5%. And that would mean all of the ballot and all the materials would be available in other languages, I think, which will help with that barrier too.
Question for Marilyn.
Sorry, I had to unmute. It's gone completely out of my mind because I was listening, so never mind.
Oh, okay.
Well,
What I was going to ask, it had to do with that, but I can't. It's just flipped out of my mind. Sorry.
No worries. We just rolled to 11 o'clock.
Well, and
So
I would like to ask
Cindy's gone. Cindy's gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can we just say it for her?
Sure.
Cindy Black, Fixed Democracy First director. If you haven't been to her Fixed Democracy First happy hour at 5 p.m. on Wednesday evening, every Wednesday. I think this week she's going to talk about the January 6th event and, what's happened since, kind of do a wrap up on that. She does a wonderful job of providing background on the week's news, and she's bringing in speakers on many different topics. You just need to go to the Fixed Democracy First website, which I can't put in the chat right now, but check it out. It's a very good source of information, and I can see many people who could, raise their hand and say, yeah, I've been there too. And one last question from France Giddings, and you're muted, France, and then we'll sign off.
I was just gonna say that there's a question in the chat I don't think you've gotten to about the capital gains tax.
Yes, that's a good question. I see Martha put a question in. That's one of the Let's Go Washington ballot initiatives that they turned in enough signatures to qualify. The legislature will need to address it either by putting an alternate proposal on the ballot, or it'll just go through for the voters, but it is something that hopefully there will be a lot of education and awareness about that before November. So it's a really good question.
And Marilyn, did you
Well,
remember your question?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yay.
Having to do with Kathy's question, about the only 10% of the voters that were registered who actually voted that have Vietnamese surnames. I'm just wondering, when they get their ballot, do they get it so that it has a language translation, or is it something that they get in the mail and they can't read it because perhaps they don't read English or don't read English well, and it's only in English? And that's my question. Are these things translated? Is there anything in there I know that there's usually a big long kind of a letter in various languages and so on, but is that enough? And is it terribly costly to put this in for people who don't read and write English?
Yes.
Anybody have any?
Well, that's one of the new pieces of legislation that's coming out
Thank you, Cindy.
to improve that. And then also, I know Seattle King County translates into a lot of languages.
But do they do it on the ballot, or do they express it in a way that a new voter who is maybe not familiar with the way we vote here would be able to understand that?
Yeah.
That sounds like something we need to learn about, find out about. And
Right.
Jilda has a question.
So,
Wendy,
yes,
I'm sorry, I'm
Jilda.
not sure if you can see the same screen I'm seeing.
Yes, I can. Yeah, I was just going to say, let's take Jilda's question and then we will sign off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just quick. When does the legislative newspaper where the action alerts come out?
That'll be on next Sunday.
Okay, so we haven't had one come out yet.
No, not yet. No, you'll get the
okay.
first one on
Okay.
Sunday. Yeah. The legislature just started today, so we'll get it out to you next week.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
I want to thank everybody for Zooming in today. We really appreciate it. And we hope you'll come back next week. We're going to hear Fair Vote Washington talking about Washington Voices. And sneak preview, the week following, we're going to have a session on how a bill becomes law in our state. So we hope you'll keep tuning in. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy.
Bye.
Yeah.